Okay, welcome everybody. Just making sure my sound is okay. Welcome to this week's episode. I have some bad news because Julian is feeling a little bit under the weather. He posted it on his personal Twitter. He is feverish. I think he has almost 40 degrees fever. So he's not going to be attending today. It's just going to be me. Because Glenn has a lot to do. Currently, we are moving into our new office building. There is actually a post on the Cake DeFi Twitter where you can see a little bit of a tour of the office. We will provide a lot more video material of us moving in to the new office. So this Twitter space will be a lot shorter than usual Twitter spaces, and it's basically just me ranting a little bit. I'm going to share something about. I attended the Bitcoin conference in Amsterdam last week. So I have some nuggets I want to share with you about the conference. I was actually meeting up with a lot of community members there, enjoyed it a lot, had a great time. And then we hopefully can touch on the title of that Twitter space as well, Navigating the Crypto Winter, and maybe touch on a few things that are currently going on in the community. So with that, let's start with the Bitcoin conference first. So as many of you know, you have Bitcoin Magazine, and they organize meetups. So Bitcoin conferences, they did two in Miami, one 2 years ago, one last year ago in spring. So this was like end of April, I think, or beginning of May. And both of these conferences were a lot larger than the one that was happening in Amsterdam last week. So I think there were about 5,000 people attending in Amsterdam, and it was not too many. Like I think in Miami they were at least in the 5 digits. I don't know exactly how many, but I would say at least 10,000 people that were attending there. So in Amsterdam it was a lot more cozy, and it was actually really easy to talk to everybody, even people that are kind of famous, let's say, in the Bitcoin or in the larger crypto space. So I was actually able to talk to a few of my personal favorite Bitcoiners. I shared a few photos of that on my personal Twitter. In general, I put out a tweet and I messaged a few people on Telegram. There were at least 5 or 6 members of our own community, Cake community, there as well. I had some great talks, and my personal highlights were, I shared a video of that as well. There was like a beer tap where you could pay fully automated. So there was nobody behind the beer tap or anything. It was just everything via Lightning, as you could basically scan a QR code, pay, I don't know, slightly above $3 or €3, which is kind of pricey here in the Netherlands for a beer. But anyway, you could scan that with Lightning, and the beer tab was like turning on automatically and spitting out some beer. That was one of my personal highlights. In general, everything on the whole conference, it doesn't matter if you want to buy merch, the entry, the tickets, the food, the coffee, the beer, you could pay everything via Lightning, which was pretty insane to me. I don't know, it depends a little bit how deeply you are into the Bitcoin ecosystem or into the Lightning ecosystem. If you haven't used it for day-to-day payments, it's actually an amazing experience. A lot of time it's faster and easier than using a debit card or the credit card. Like the payments usually settle within seconds. And the merchant, they just display a QR code. They type in the amount that they want to charge. You pick up your phone, you use any wallet basically. So my favorites are Blue Wallet or Wallet of Satoshi, and you scan the barcode, and the payment is done within seconds. And I think they processed over 4,000 Lightning transactions within 3 days. And a large majority of people, at least the people that I stood next in line with, they were choosing to pay via Lightning rather than via on-chain transactions. What was mind-blowing to me is, so during the event, of course, you talk a little bit, hey, what's happening in the evening? So the conference was ending at around 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. and a lot of people outside you were connecting and talking, hey, what is up in the evening? So there were like several side events where the community was meeting up. And I've been there on a little bit of a personal mission to find some Bitcoin bodies here in the region where I live. So I'm based in the Netherlands, in Friesland. It's a province up north. And I haven't been able to make a lot of personal connections to other fellow Bitcoiners or crypto people here. And I'm definitely been able to do that. So the side events in the evening, the first evening, they were like free to choose from. And the one that I ended up attending was in an arcade hall. You paid like a 10 euros entry, also via Lightning, and everything there, the food, the beer, you could pay via Lightning. About 300 to 400 people were attending there. And it was just a casual meetup, eating chicken, drinking some beers. And on the second day, we've spent in a restaurant, which also everything was done via Lightning there. And I don't know, maybe 500 or 600 people were attending. Was crazy to me is I spent a lot of time with people that, so for example, Knut, I don't know if you're deeply within the Bitcoin community, you definitely know him. Everything Divided by 21 Million is one of his books. He wrote 3 books. I read all of them. And I was able to meet up with him. We had like a conversation for 90 minutes about, mostly hyper Bitcoinization and the future of digital payments and so on. I spent a lot of time talking to Alex Gladstein. He's one of the founders of the Human Rights Foundation. So he's looking into developed markets and how Bitcoin can give them financial independence or sovereignty. Super interesting conversation. And I guess, I was surprised by how loving and how great the Dutch Bitcoin community is. So I would say approximately 50% of the attendants at the conference were actually Dutch. You had a lot of international people, of course, Germans, Brits, some Americans, but I would say about half of the participants that I met there were Dutchies. And they have a very, very thriving community. There were also, like, in some of the Lightning wallets, like I think it's Bitcoin Beach Wallet, they offer maps where you can just open the app and you can look where merchants are that are accepting Bitcoin. And we have a city here in the Netherlands, it's called Arnhem. And in Arnhem, they have like 100 shops, pretty much all located in the main business district or main shopping area, which all of them actually accept Lightning. So it's definitely growing here and a lot of interest. The thing that is surprising to me is how fast the adoption here in the Netherlands actually is. And if you look at a lot of people, they lose hopium during bear markets like these, and they just think they focus too much on the price. But if you just look at the real adoption pattern, so if you look at Bitcoin, for example, you have the hash rate, which is consistently going up, consistently making new all-time highs, which means the security of the protocol is increasing and people are actually deploying hardware and energy to sustain and if you dedicate hardware and if you're looking to mine, you kind of commit for a longer period of time. So that's definitely bullish. And the most important thing to me is the shrimps. So people that hold between 0.1 and 1 Bitcoin, these addresses are making new all-time high every day. So you have the plebs, people that are in this for the long run, the hodlers, they're stronger than ever. And this is definitely what I could feel participating at the event. Of course, you have the diehards there, people that really, really believe in everything. And those people are definitely stacking. So for me, it was a great success. I'm super happy that I could meet up with a few of our community members there. And we had some great conversations. It's definitely interesting that a lot of people have a very open approach. So this was a Bitcoin conference. And of course, a large majority of people that participate in these events probably identify as maximalists. But regardless of the fact, everybody was extremely open to everything that is building around or on top of Bitcoin. And I would consider DeFi chain as one of them. So you have projects like Stack, Liquid Network, DeFi chain, Sovereign, Lightning, and all of these things, they're a little bit under the radar still. So everything that builds on top and around of Bitcoin didn't really get the attention it deserves during the last 2 years or so. We had these hype cycles where a lot of people were focusing on, I don't know, monkey JPEGs or, I don't know, metaverse Web3 things. And so the real building, which happens on Lightning, for example, Stacks, Liquid Network, or DeFi chain, they didn't really get the attention they deserve. I still think within a future cycle, I still believe in 4-year cycles. And I still believe there will be another bull run. Of course, we are suffering from extremely, I don't know, a very negative or a very concerning macro landscape. And we talked a lot about macro during our last Twitter Spaces last week and the week before that, where we kind of all depend on what Jay Powell is doing, on how they approach the rates, and if they're going to keep hiking them. It's hard to say when the switch will be and what will happen. Probably nobody can really tell you for sure how this is all going to play out. But eventually, there will be better times again. You know, we have an extremely concerning macro landscape because. So you could compare the phases that we are in maybe to the 70s or to the 30s. The only difference is in the 70s, the last time we had high inflation, they didn't have that much debt. So it was much easier for the Fed to just keep hiking rates. So Paul Volcker was probably the guy that took the most credit back then. He was the chairman of the Fed. But it's hard to compare the times we are in right now to the times that we had in the 70s, because the debt in the system, the sovereign debt, is just way higher. And we the Fed didn't anticipate this on time. So yeah, the macro is something we can't change. But what we should focus on and what we could focus on is fundamentals, and the fundamentals actually look great. There is that, in my opinion, the next thing that will drive our next bull run and the next cycle will 100% certain be regulation. You have still we are lacking clear regulation in big markets, that people know, okay, this is the tax I'm going to pay. This is a clear yes or a clean green light. That the SEC, for example, America is the most important one when it comes to regulation. But as soon as there is a green light on regulation, the floodgates will open. There is a lot of people talking about this in great detail, like Mr. Wonderful, the guy from Shark Tank. He is very opinionated on that regulation will be the next flood door that is going to drive the prices a lot higher than now. But the crypto space in general is largely still focused on retail. Like, the market is very, very retail driven, very emotional. And you can see this within every community right now. It doesn't really matter who you're following on Twitter, but the sentiment isn't that great, just because it's usually the price that influences this. So that's regarding macro and the Bitcoin conference. There's two other minor things I want to touch on. So we did some backend changes on Cake, and you might have seen or experienced some fluctuating APIs, especially when it comes to staking. So some people were experiencing slightly less rewards than they were expecting in Ethereum staking. There was an issue with the back end of our calculations. There's no need to worry about anything, and no action you need to take. You don't need to open a support ticket or anything. The missing rewards will just be credited to your account without any action needed from your side. And the issue is probably going to be resolved later today, latest tomorrow. At least it's what one of our tech guys told me this morning. And there were a few people raising. So we have a lot of fluctuation when it comes to our DeFi staking. That's also due to the changes we made in the backend. And then the APR is hopping between I don't know, 11% and 20%. What's important for you as customers to know is it actually always has been 20%. It is so. Let me try to explain this without being too technical. But if you go into your transaction history, you will see normally you get two reward cycles a day, so every 12 hours. But if you go back the last week or the last 2 weeks, you were actually receiving 3 or 4 payments, which 2 were a lot higher than the others. And the way we calculate the APR, so the backend just takes the last 14 reward cycles, so a 7-day moving average. But if there are multiple payments during a day, it's the APR and the APY is not reflected correctly. So this will still be a thing for the next 5 to 6 days because the issue got fixed yesterday. So don't worry if the APR or API fluctuates slightly. You can calculate this yourself. You're actually getting what you should be getting, which is probably on DFI around 20%, maybe 19 and something. And on Ethereum, it is around 5%. So no need to worry there. We had, maybe let me also touch briefly on the Ethereum launch. So it was an insanely great launch for us. We have a lot of participation, a lot higher than we initially expected. And this is still before we actually launch the secondary markets. So we are planning to do a secondary market, which you have like CSETH. So for everybody that doesn't know, on Ethereum, you have this issue that you're not able to unstake your ETH with almost any provider out there. So if you go with Lido, if you go with Coinbase, if you go with, I don't know, a big provider, you practically need to lock in your ETH and you need to wait until the Ethereum Foundation launches the Shanghai upgrade. And the code for Shanghai is not written. And the developers said the approximate timeline for this could be around 6 months, meaning everybody that is staking their ETH on a bigger provider has no opportunity or possibility to actually unstake it until Shanghai is pushed out. So at Cake, we will offer a secondary market where you can actually trade this on the DeFi chain DEX. And we are probably around 30 days or so away from launching this. We have a few other exciting things coming up. Without going into too many details, there is 2 major things that are going to happen, which you can be or should be excited about. So one thing is we're going to expand our earn offering. So right now you can earn on Bitcoin. But there will be at least 1 or 2 other assets before the end of the year that you will be able to earn a very nice return on with, just the ease of use that earn provides. Which assets I cannot share at this point, but we will update on this within probably the next 30 to 45 days. You will just follow us on socials or on Telegram, and we will update there as soon as we are comfortable in sharing more information about that. So one thing is the earn. The other thing is, do we have any promotions that I can talk about? I don't think so. We are currently working on a redesign. So there will be a slightly tweaked logo. There will be a slightly tweaked website. Also going to be happening before the end of the year. And the third thing is we are looking to go to drive into new ecosystems. So if you're a VIP customer and if you're following us on Telegram in the VIP groups, we gave out or we pushed out several polls and surveys which we asked our customers, hey, what kind of assets are you looking for staking them at Cake? So there's there are a lot of coins out there which you can use to generate the yield on. Usually these are staking coins like Solana or DOT or BNB or I don't know. There's so many out there, Cardano and so on. And Cake is definitely moving more into the direction of, we call it being multi-chain. So going into other ecosystems. And there will certainly be at least one, maybe more offerings that we will implement before the end of the year. So these are maybe the three top things to look out for We have a multi-chain, which we're going to add other ecosystems, at least one before the end of the year. We're going to have the redesign, where the logo is slightly nicer, and the website will be revamped. Also, the mobile app, everything will be a lot more user friendly. And the third thing is we are going to expand our earn capabilities. So you are gonna see other offerings than just Bitcoin. And we are also looking there that we can keep up with like the industry best rate. So right now you have like 9 point something % on Bitcoin, which is probably industry leading, or at least I don't know a lot of places or any place actually that offers that. And the same thing will go to the other ecosystems that we will enable on Earn. With that said, maybe let's go into the last part of the Twitter space, and this is navigating the crypto winter. And there is, I actually had a great phone call yesterday with a colleague of mine, and it's super tough to. We were going back. We actually met up exactly a year ago. So this was in October, November of last year, and in October, November last year were the days or the time that we were able to make all-time highs. So during that time, the market was fairly enthusiastic, even kind of borderline crazy at the moment. And it's very important to notice how each and every one of us were feeling during that time, because usually, especially if people experience this, if this is their first cycle, it's super hard to take profits because just remember how it felt and what happened 1 year ago. So we had all these BitGo and Valkyrie ETFs and a lot of hype in the market. And everybody was talking about, oh, we're going to see six figures, and it was basically a no-brainer trade. Even if we were dropping from 65 downwards, the whole Twitter feed and everything was filled with, I would say, hopium technical analysis, like super cycles where you could see like Bitcoin going to 200, 300,000, lots of these charts, and everybody was hyped about. Back then it was mostly NFTs, Web3, metaverse, and insane valuation for these things as well. So now, if you fast forward today it feels a lot different. You know, what you can see if you go into Telegram groups or if you go on Twitter, there is a lot of people whining. You know, everybody is concerned about the future of. It doesn't really matter if you go into a Facebook group or into a Twitter community that is usually talking about Cardano, or that is talking about Ethereum, is talking about Bitcoin or DeFi chain. There's just a lot of frustration, a lot of capitulation. People think, okay, these projects will never recover, and we are just going to go lower from here, and just people throwing the towel. And usually this kind of behavior is happening during the times when we are very, very close to a bottom. I'm not saying that we could not see lower prices. It's very much possible that we do. But right now, it definitely feels like we are in a capitulation phase. So it gone to my head, if I would need to say, how are we moving forward from here? I probably can see a bear rally happening, maybe quite a strong one into the midterms, into the end of the year, of course, depending on what the Fed does and what the CPI data does. So we went from 8.3 to 8.2, which is not really a consistent decrease. I could still foresee the Fed going with 75 basis points in November, but probably this is priced in. And after that, maybe this is the last 75 basis point rate hike. Depends a little bit if something is going to break and if the CPI is coming down. But usually a lot of people actually expect the markets to turn around the moment that the Fed is pausing or lowering the rates. But if you go back and look in what happened in 2008, for example, this is likely not going to be the case. So I could foresee a scenario where we pump slightly from here. I don't know where to, but definitely some upside, and maybe that we find our final bottom, or that we have some final downside into in Q1 next year. and that probably 2023 is not going to be a bull run, but a cow run. So a little bit less aggressive, a little bit more to the side, and not very much these pump or hype cycles that we experienced a few years earlier. There's definitely going to be a hype cycle again. But it's probably not going to be next year. That's what I would say, gone to my head, what's going to happen next. But, not financial advice. And for me, it's definitely, so this is my second bull cycle that I'm participating in. I started in 2015. But, for me, it's very different because in 2017, I remember very vividly, I was not following everything very close on Twitter. I actually got a text from my mother when Bitcoin was hitting 20K because she knew that I had some, but I was not following the price daily. I forgot that I even had the position, and I was doing other things at the time. So I didn't fall into the euphoria that I fell into last year. And it's also different because right now I have so much exposure on social media and on Telegram, and you kind of copy the feeling of all these people around you. So during these excessive phases last year, I was super pumped and super hyped, and I had a lot of FOMO. And the same is true right now. I feel the frustration and the negativity, the finger pointing that is going on right now. So every cycle you experience a little bit different. The good thing and also the bad thing is in neither the bull cycle or now the downside cycle, I haven't sold. I'm a hodler. I'm in this for the long run. And the thing that I recommend all of my family and friends, I get a lot of text messages of people that say, hey, is this ever going to turn around? Is now a good time to buy? What is going to happen next? What is the outlook going to be? And a lot of times it is super important to go back and reflect on your initial plan, because the moment when you entered the ecosystem, it doesn't really matter in which community you're part of or which currencies or which coins you hold. Just go back and try to remember the moment that you made your first allocation. And I'm 100% certain if I would ask you back then, or at least for a majority of you, this would be true. A lot of people would have said then, hey, I'm in this for the long run. My time horizon is 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. I'm here to support the projects in good times and in bad times. But now that we are actually, suffering from lower prices, a lot of people are not able to reflect on their initial commitment and initial plan. They blame each and everybody for all the shortcomings that are there. They compare their investment with other people's investment. So if you, for example, if you have a coin like Solana, which is down, I don't know, I think 84 or 85%, they compare their investment with, I don't know, another coin like Ethereum, which is only down 58%. And they feel like, oh, my coin is performing slightly less than the other coin, which must mean it's not going to be able to recover. And these comparisons are super dangerous, because just to name, or just to make an example, Cardano, for example, they had an amazing performance during the 2017 times. I think they went into the $1 or $2 something. I don't even remember, but they took a hit of like 94, 95% down. And I think they found their low at 2 or 3 cents. And afterwards, of course, for everybody that followed the project, during the next bull run, the coin practically made 100x and went to, I think, $3 or so. And a lot of other projects, they're going to behave fairly similar. Nobody can tell you if you're at the right point or at the right time, but probably right now is not the time to sell. Bear markets are for building, bear markets are for accumulating, and don't try to time the market. For me, it's fairly straightforward. I'm super conservative. Dollar cost average, stick to the initial plan, have a time horizon of 5 years, maybe 7 years, or even 10 years. and don't lose hope. And every project has their issues. It doesn't really matter in which community you go and which project you're deeply invested in. All of the projects have their issues. Some have scalability issues, like Bitcoin does. There is a lot of solutions that are possible, especially if you go with Lightning or with Liquid, with sidechains. And there, probably the approach is a little bit more of an if you're familiar, for example, with TCP/IP, the base layer protocol of let's say the internet. I think TCP/IP was invented in the late 60s or so, and it took until the mid 90s or late 90s before we had HTTPS. And HTTPS is, I think, layer 4. So they were like, and before that, internet or TCP/IP, they always said, "Oh, this is not scalable; it's not working." And it took 30 years to solve that. I'm not saying that it's going to be 30 years in crypto or in Bitcoin that we solve the scalability issues. Things move a lot faster. You have exponential progression curves, so things will move a lot faster, hopefully, than 30 years. But there's definitely this layer approach is definitely a sound one. You have other things, in the Ethereum ecosystem, for example, they moved to proof of stake, but they still have a big issue with scalability, with transaction fees. Transaction fees are still expensive. If you want to make transactions on a large scale, they probably should be in the cents and not in the, double digit US dollar area. If you go, Cake is deeply rooted within the DeFi chain system. So there, a lot of talks are about the DPEG that DUSD had. So DUSD is not pegged at $1 currently. It's moving lower. I think somewhere in the higher 80 area. I'm not quite sure. I haven't checked the price in a while. But these things as well, to the crypto sector in general, is so experimental. It's so early. And every project has a lot of issues that needs to be solved. And if you just focus on the issues, then it's hard to see the trees in the forest. Sometimes it's important to know that we are in a space that is fairly early in its development and that is going to take time, and also be very much aware that this is all moving in cycles that take multiple years. So if you just go back into the history, we definitely can say, for now at least, that we are still moving in these 4-year cycles. If not, then we will find out over the next 1 or 2, maybe 3 years if this is not the case. But for now, we probably could still, it's still very feasible to say that this all is moving in multi-year cycles. So the best way now is to approach it with the data that we have from the past and just say, okay, this time is not going to be different. This time is going to look very similar to how it looked in the past, which would mean that 2023, end of 2023 or 2024 would be the years that are going to be very exciting. And that probably this year and next year is not going to be exciting. But you know what? Exactly during the times that are not so exciting, these are the years where champions are made, and these are the years where you earn a lot of money. Maybe to close that one off, I remember the time very vividly of December 2018 when we dropped from 6K to 3K, and I wished that I would have bought a lot more back then, but this was the time where my conviction was the lowest. And where I actually, where it took me a lot of energy to fight myself to stay in the game and still dollar cost average my way in. I had a super easy time when Bitcoin was at 20, 30, 40, 50K to keep my DCA going because I was expecting this thing to go to the 6 figures. But especially in times like right now, we are under the 200 weekly moving average. If these are not great prices to buy, tell me what the great price is, and if you're still on the sideline right now and you're waiting for, 15K or 12K or what everybody is calling for, I'm not so sure if we are going to get there. I remember very vividly in 2018, you had a guy that was called, he had that one theory. I think the hyperwave Jenkins or so was his name. He was on Tom Way's podcast a lot, and this guy was 100% convicted that Bitcoin is going to go to 1K. So we had that there would be this correction from 20,000 down to 1K, and even when the price was at 3 or 4K. They consistently mentioned this is going to go to 1K, and he had a large following. Everybody agreed on, oh yeah, it's going to go down to 1K, and all of these people missed the bottom. They could have bought at 3K, they could have bought at 4K, but they were waiting for one. And while I feel probably a lot of you are fairly good in what you are doing, but dollar cost average is just a safe method of having at least a bit of skin in the game. If you're convicted that the prices will go lower than what we are experiencing right now, keep some dry powder on the side that just in case, if we go down there, you will be able to buy. And one advice here, place the orders ahead of time, because when we are getting there, it's probably going to be a wick, and it's probably going to be a thing that happens over a few hours. And you're very likely to miss that few hours. It could be that you're asleep. It could be that you're just not following the news, because let's be honest with each other, in bear markets, we don't spend that much time on Twitter or on Telegram or on Reddit. We usually do other things. And especially if there is going to be a wick to the downside, let's say to 15K or even to 12K, you probably want to be prepared and already have your order set on an exchange to actually profit from these prices. But nobody can guarantee you where the price is moving. So for me, I'm approaching this super conservative, dollar cost average, buy every month, stay with a long time horizon. If the price goes a little bit lower, I'm going to buy a little bit more. So yeah, with that said, I ranted on for like 37 minutes. I don't have a lot more things to say. This is going to be without video this week because usually Julian makes the recordings, but we're going to upload this to YouTube, Apple, and Spotify if we can sort out all the recording things, which I'm very hopeful that we are able to. And yeah, with that said, I highly appreciate all of you guys' time. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a customer. And if you're not a customer yet, you definitely should be one. app.cakedefi.com. You should check out the company. We have great offerings, especially during bear markets, because what is better than owning some Bitcoin, getting a nice yield on it? We have a lending product which approximately is between 2.5% and I think 5% yearly yields, and we have the earn product which currently is around 9% a year. So without doing anything, just hodling, you will be able to increase your Bitcoin allocation, which is actually great. Yeah, with that said, thanks for listening in, and I hope you enjoyed my rant. Next week, Julian is going to be back. I'm fairly certain about that, and which will make my part in this a little bit easier. Cool. Thanks, guys, and have a great rest of the week.